Shad, is it a picture of oil platforms or a boat? Wait a minute, are you talking about a Fata Morgana? He's probably talking about a Fata Morgana. That's the only thing I can assume. Do we have...
What? Sorry, even if it's Fata Morgana, does Fata Morgana mean the Earth is a ball?
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Look at this strange phenomena that we've had to name because it does something and we can point out the reasons why and look at it and stuff.
Yeah.
Does it mean we're on a ball?
You know what I love about this picture of the sailboat, the gif of the sailboat, is it's just so far away and it's a teeny tiny little sailboat. Look at it. Look how far away it is. Oh, we look up. Let's go to Google.
Hey, anybody there?
Yes.
Can you hear me? You can hear us?
We can hear you.
Okay, cool, man. I got a friend of ours here. His name is Mark Sargent. Hello.
Oh,
Hey, Mark.
How's it going, Mark?
Here, hold on.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
I'm good. Who am I on the line with? You, avatar-wise.
Mimus Aurelius.
Oh, okay.
I'm the admin. Who are you with?
Flat Earth Dude, Kenny.
Nice.
We got Sonny's here. Sonny on the plane.
Okay, so you got Sonny there. You got Old Man Sonny, we got you, and we got Mark Sargent all together.
Yep, all three of us.
Excellent.
Nice.
And we got Gabe here.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you up to?
We just got back from breakfast. We're going to a Flat Earth meetup.
Cool.
You got
Cool.
any questions for Mark?
Yeah. What do you...
You want to call him some bad names or stuff?
Yeah, no, I love Mark.
I'm kidding.
I love Mark. We love Mark. Mark is the best. There's nobody better than Mark. Everybody knows that we love Mark.
Oh, no.
Sorry, I'm
No, I wouldn't go that far, but thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm one of the founders of the server, Mark. We love you here. It's fine.
Well,
Yeah, you're
thank
great.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
sorry.
Is this the same server that Karen drops by on every once in a while?
Not anymore. No, that was.
Okay.
We've had this server since 2016. We got 27,000 members right now.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
you know,
a lot.
if you do any Discord, you make an account here. We'll take care of you. You ever want to come in, do an AMA or anything like that? Feel free to.
Yeah. Sorry, I apologize. There's some.
We're having
There's some Apache gunships that are flying over the coast right now. So
Beautiful.
Sorry. They're just now going. You know, they do. Don't they do SEAL training down here?
Yeah, Camp Pendleton.
Yeah, they do military training down here. So who knows what they're doing with those guys? Anyway, what? How long you guys been on this today?
On today, we're on 24 hours a day. It's 24/7 Flat Earth.
All right. How long have you been on today?
How long have I been on? I have only been on about 48 minutes today.
Oh, that's not bad.
No.
That's not so bad. And you're gonna. You have to forgive me. How long? How long is your shift for this?
Oh, my shift. It's as long as I want it to be. I just hand it off to a moderator.
Gotcha.
So I come in. Sometimes I'll spend 6 or 7 hours on. Sometimes I'll spend an hour on. You know, it's because on one hand I gotta help run the server, and on the other hand I also like getting into the debates.
Right now.
Yeah, there's not much going on right now because it's a weekend morning.
Gotcha. Well, is there any while I got you, because you and I don't talk very much.
Nope.
Is there anything you want to throw at me? Any questions, thoughts, theories, jokes? What,
oh man, yeah. Does anyone else have anything? Because I don't know, Mark. Like, I probably haven't watched a flat Earth video or anything like that in about 3 years. Because for me, once I got all my math down and I had my first principles, I didn't need anything else, and I just go Socratic the whole way anyway. And so like, I don't need like all these different like models or ideas or anything clogging up like how I argue.
Gotcha.
But I think generally, people are interested in you maybe expounding on some of your ideas because we got you here. So, it's not Speculation Sunday, but, feel free to like tell us what you think about anything like off the wall or odd or anything like that we haven't thought of.
Something I mentioned at the conference down at Karen's last year was that I think really, I mean, right now, Flat Earth is doing extremely well. They always have been. Even during the pandemic, we just saturate social media so much that we've gotten to the point where if you walked out to the average person on the street 8 years ago, you would have said, you could have asked them, hey, what do you think about flat Earth? And they'd look at you like you had a bug on your face. It's like, what are you talking about? I've never heard of it. Now everybody's like, oh, right, that thing. But my only complaint, the only thing that I say that is a weakness in flat Earth right now is we don't have, and it sounds silly, we don't have high caliber enough trolls. Meaning the trolls we have are so pedestrian. You've got a couple bigger ones, but, like Simon Dan and Professor Dave and that new guy from Britain that's doing his thing, who keeps showing up in the search engines. But most of the guys that come on are coming on in response to us. Meaning, and I don't mean just in response to Flat Earth, they notice, I mean, you can see the trend where all of a sudden it's like their channel's been around for a while, and then they make an anti-Flat Earth video, and all of a sudden they get this huge spike in views. And what do you think that does? It's positive reinforcement. It's like, oh man, I got to start doing more Flat Earth videos. And next thing you know, they start dedicating part of their day and sometimes even more than that on it. But we don't have any high profile, guys that, Neil Tyson, he's pushing retirement. Joe Rogan, he won't risk it. Bill Nye, don't know what the hell he's doing. Guys like that. That's my only complaint, because I still believe that trolls. Remember, remember I said stuff way back in the day, which is even if you're attacking Flat Earth, all you're really doing is shooting wooden arrows into a bonfire. And from a distance, you look like you're doing something, but you're really just making the fire bigger. And what we need is somebody to shoot a whole bunch of arrows into it, because it just helps us in the grand scheme. Somebody that we can torture, because now that we've been doing this you've been doing this for years. Now that we've been doing this for me, it's been 8 years. There's nothing they can throw at us that we don't have an answer for. If you wanted to shoot Flat Earth down, well, you should have done it 7 years ago, and you didn't. Yeah. So, anyone new coming into the game, like, I feel bad for that new British guy that's in, because it's like, poor dude, you are so late to the party. What am I even supposed to do with you?
It is funny how when someone new comes into the game, immediately all their comments, all their ideas are from 2015.
Right.
Because the only articles, because what they're doing is they're taking that first search result, and that's what they're using as like the basis of their debunking. And it's like, well, go look at the date of that. And that's from, 2014, 2015, 2016. So you've been around 8 years. I've been around 7 years. A lot of the founding members of this server have been around 7 or 8 years. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, since you're out there more often, like in the public, would you say we had crossed over into the Overton window? Where there's
what window?
The Overton window. It's like it's this almost acceptability of thought to even mention it, to where there's jokes about it, because people didn't joke about Flat Earth. Right. In 2014, they didn't mention it. They didn't think about it. Nothing. And now there's memes about it on Minecraft all over the place.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. We have gotten to that point where everybody. There was a clip I included, and we crossed that into it years ago. There was a clip I used at the beginning of Strange Worlds where Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon are talking to each other, and I watched the whole thing when it happened, which was Jimmy Fallon just happened to throw a Flat Earth hand sign, and but he wasn't doing it deliberately. It was just, he was trying to describe something, and you could see Jimmy Kimmel immediately pick that up and followed it with a Flat Earth joke, because they were just kind of riffing, And it's like, how do you know the world is flat? And it's like, oh yeah, because it's in your mind. You know, it's all the terms and the symbolism and everything we do is out there to such a degree that yes, it's in the consciousness now of just about everybody. Everybody knows of it. They've heard. I mean, come on, the documentary itself, whether you liked it or you hated it, it ran the full.
It had great flat Earth proofs in it, and we used those. We actually used those as flat Earth proofs. What they provided in that documentary. Yeah, behind the curve, right?
Yeah, and it ran for a full 3 years. It ran the full contract at Netflix, and they even got a little boost at the end during the pandemic.
Yep.
And then and it's still out there. You can pick it up on Amazon all day long. And there's other people. I mean, there was one of the first anti-flat Earth books that just came out at the end of last year. I can't remember her name off the top of the head, but it was called Beyond the Edge, I think. And it was it was a writer from a mainstream publication, and she decided to put together a thing. It was mostly gossip about the flat Earth community, which was weird. That she did. Yeah, she dedicated an entire chapter to Mad Mike.
Opponents, not about their ideas.
No, not really about the ideas. She really turned it more into a he said, she said type of thing.
Right.
It was. I mean, come on. There was like 2 chapters on Patricia Steere. It's like, come on. and it was a woman writing for other women. She wanted to do that, but it's like, but
Goose Rider.
Yeah. But the fact that she dedicated an entire chapter to Mad Mike, it's like, okay. And that by the way got buried. They could have really milked that. It's really strange because the Mad Mike thing when he crashed and died, the media could have jumped on that and pointed fingers at flat Earth. It's like, this is what flat Earth does.
A little bit.
Not much, though. Not much.
I think that would have beat. I think that the best. Like if I was in their mind, if I was doing marketing and stuff, I would avoid Mad Mike generally.
Yeah,
because it would look good for anybody.
Yeah, and
it doesn't look good to make fun of somebody dying, and it doesn't look good to maybe promote his ideas on accident.
Exactly,
those ideas, which I don't think he did.
There was a little trivia. He was supposed to be in Behind the Curve, and the producers, had this weird double take, which was like, oh crap, wait, what if we put him in there and he dies? What do we do? Right. What do we? That'll change the whole tone of the freaking movie.
It was a good choice.
It turns out they were right. He did die.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to spend the money. Honestly, it was fine. It's like, it would be wasted money. It's like, then we'll have to, if he dies before we finish the movie, we'll have to pull him out of the movie. It's like, oh no, we don't.
And there's insurance, and then there's possible delay of your documentary because you're have some liability suit. Who knows?
There you go.
Right.
Those guys are rich.
And what the thing that most people don't know is that remember, he just before that happened, he signed a 5-year TV deal with the Science Channel. And they were the ones that set him up with the new rocket. And they were the ones when it crashed and burned, it was like their team was out there really, really fast, like, get the wreckage, I put it in a truck, and that was it. Nobody ever heard from it again. And the series, they didn't hype it up anymore. But it's like really strange. It's like, did they sign him to a 5-year deal? And then because that parachute shouldn't have fallen off like that right away, if you remember the footage. But whatever.
What's been probably your favorite flat Earth awakening experience in like maybe the last few years? Like maybe your favorite individual to have been part of making them aware of things.
Favorite flat Earth moment? Oh boy. That's a tough one. It could be a
moment or an individual or an idea or something. Just what was like your highlight in the past maybe 2 or 3 years?
Well, just before the pandemic, there was this wonderful moment where I was flying back from. I mean, again, the fact that producers were willing to talk about this when I did that interview for Philip and Holly on Good Morning, not Good Morning Britain, but some morning show over in England. And I came back and I was flying through Reykjavik, through Iceland, and landed back in Seattle. And I'm there with the custom agents. We're going through customs. And one of the pilots walks over to me and he goes, "Hey, man," he kind of looks around suspiciously. And he goes, "Can I get a selfie with you?" And I go, "What?" He did not introduce himself. And I go, "Okay, sure." Right. And we take a quick selfie and he shakes my hand. He goes, "Love your work, man. Listen whenever I can." And he goes, I got to get back to the group. And I go, "Hey, who are you?" And he goes, "Oh, I flew you here." I was like, "Oh,
nice.
That's really, really cool." And again, he's one of just so many. I mean, how many pilots and military people and people that we have run into over the years that have gone down that road and figured it out themselves, and quietly, either behind the scenes again, because we still have, it's still, even though it's weird for us, it's in the consciousness of the general public, which I'm looking around, all these cars around me, but at the same time, it's still this kind of taboo. I mean, I ran into, there was just this little tiny podcast yesterday where because when I search for flat Earth, I just type in flat Earth, and then in YouTube, and I sort by upload date to get the most current. And there's this little podcast, and you could tell that the guy that was on there, he couldn't have been not even 30. The girl that was running it, and another guy, and she asked him, right? She goes, "So, are you into flat Earth?" And I could have told you the response from the look on his face before he said it. It's like, no. I'm not a flat earther, but I've got some questions, right? But I've got some.
Let us know what that means. Yeah.
That excuse that people give. It's like, no, I'm not. But there's some things about it. It's like, wow, how many times have I heard that? Which is great, which means they're just not confident enough to sit there in front of their host and say, yeah, I'm absolutely a flat earther.
I think most of us understand that if someone has 1% doubt of the globe, we've already got them.
Yeah. That part is beautiful, because I have seen that that's the safe answer that everybody gets, which is it apparently seems to go to ride very nicely, which is, it's like, no, I'm not, but I'm open-minded. Even he was like, I'm open-minded to different ideas, and I'm really, without saying, it's like, oh no, I'm confirmed. It's like, all right, there's a reason why we call it in the closet for a reason.
You're right. I got you. Yeah, absolutely. No, so over the years, I'll give you my experience. Over the years, I have stopped being a flat earther, and I am just an Earth experiencer, because I don't know what the Earth is in its whole, to say that it has a shape. All I know is that everywhere we measure is flat, but I don't know what Earth is to say it is an object that we can measure or quantify. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that kind of thinking, because for me,
no, that's fine.
Right.
That's fine. I mean, I'll be the first. You've heard me say it. I'm the first one to be like, look, I can't tell you exactly where the sun is, or the moon is, or what exactly the shape is. If remember, I started out way back in the day with the Orlando Ferguson map, which was the 1800s map, which was kind of shaped like a roulette table. And then almost immediately, people called up, from beaches, and they were shooting long distance. Like, no, man, it's tabletop flat. Plus, you can't say roulette table. And I said, why can't I say roulette table? It's like, well, because all the numbers of the roulette table add up to 666. And it's like, and they do. And it's like, okay. It's like, all right, so I can't. But I don't know. No, I don't mind at all. It's like, I will throw out, kind of like David does when he does his interviews. It's like, I'll throw out some ideas of what I think it probably is, but I'm not gonna live or die, or was it die on that hill, whatever it is. For me, I still think it's a dome structure inside a square box, only because engineering relies on right angles. Everything has to be squared off in the end.
So you would be of the opinion that you're of the opinion that it's probably a structure.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm still a believer that it's a structure that was built, and that the illusion of what we see in the sky is all that's really needed. Again, I had this discussion with somebody yesterday where I said, like, I'm not calling God lazy. I'm saying that if 99.9999% of the people believe the illusion that's in the sky, why do you have to build space? Why do you have to build a solar system? Why do you have to build any of that crap?
Okay, so like you go into what is the dome that you go into and you see the stars in the sky? The planetarium. So you go into a planetarium. You're on a flat foundation, but you look up and you can experience the entire night sky that you would experience in the entire night sky. And a lot of people don't understand the concept of what we see up there doesn't have to be material. Right. It doesn't have to be anything that they think it is. There's no way to go up there and test it, no way to go up there and prove it or anything like that. So I would say if you were doing deduction, that would be a logical deduction.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, if you took an Amish person and blindfolded them, a pure Amish person that didn't know anything about anything. I'm not picking on the Amish people. I'm just saying, they limit their exposure deliberately. If you pulled one of those people and put them in a planetarium and took off the blindfold, you'd blow their minds. And it'd be like, what am I looking at? It's like, it's the night sky. And it's like, really? Is it? It's like, no, it's an illusion. So the question is, I mean, you know what we can do with our special effects and technology. I mean, planetariums have been around, my God, for a long time.
200 years?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, come on. Even when I was growing up,
just the modern ones.
Yeah, the modern ones. I mean, come on. They couldn't even get people to go to them. So the weekends they would do like Laser Zeppelin and Laser Floyd, and everybody get hammered. And there you go. Yeah. So,
he said he would.
But for me, yeah, the structure is it seems to resonate with people only because when I do interviews, it's weird. Some people gravitate towards, not trying to use that word there deliberately. Some people are drawn to the snow globe idea. That seems to be the most common because everybody knows what a snow globe is. But I remember a radio show guy that said, "Oh, pizza box," and I go, "You know what? If that's what your audience goes for, pay sure, pizza box." It didn't even occur to me because I was saying that it doesn't have to be very high at all. It just has to be wide. Like it has to be like a shallow sports stadium and whatever, and so people, whatever resonates with them is what I generally go with. I try to adapt to whatever audience I'm talking to.
Right.
So again, if they say snow globe, it's like, oh yeah, snow globe, and then I try to modify. I go, I don't think the arc has to be as high, but you get it. In fact, there's been sci-fi movies over the years and sci-fi books that have talked about a world inside a snow globe. This is not what gets me is. Sorry, I don't want to ramble here. No, you're good. But
no, you're fine. We're fine. We're giving you the floor today.
This is not a new concept in the sci-fi world. And I treat it kind of like lottery tickets. It's like we have written, I will say this world has amazing writers and amazing creative minds. And we've written about just about every possible variation of reality that there is. Wouldn't it make sense that one of those lottery tickets is right? And if it is, I think it's this one. I mean, even Rod Serling from the Twilight Zone covered several episodes like this. Outer Limits absolutely covered an episode because I used one of their clips in my show, and that was
one of the episode.
Oh, the Outer Limits episode.
One of the best. Yes, not
the '90s Outer Limits, by the way. The
Rod Serling ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. Rod Serling.
Yeah. That was Twilight Zone. I'm sorry, but the 1960s.
Yeah, the 1960s, there was an Outer Limits episode where they created this simulated world, and inside this chamber, and it was domed. It wasn't a globe; it was this dome structure. And they say, "Oh yeah, everything down there is in a speedy, a sped up evolutionary state, and we've got everything correct, and it's just like this world, right?" But they didn't, make the jump. So it's like, "Oh yeah, you mean like our dome, that sort of thing." But anyway, it's not a new concept. So I love the fact that they're finally kind of getting it. And I don't want to necessarily awkwardly transition over into virtual, but come on. What bugged me was when The Matrix, which is now 24 years old, God, I'm old. The Matrix came out, people thought it was cool, but so many people didn't get it. It's like, oh yeah, virtual reality, man. It's like he dodges bullets. But they didn't understand the concept of it, which is, virtual worlds are all built flat, which is, it doesn't matter what you play, whether there's a GTA or Minecraft or Fortnite or whatever BS thing is out there.
Yes, they're all flat. Unless you're playing Space Engineers, which has an extremely complicated gravity system in it that will bog your computer down trying to operate.
Right.
Yeah. Because simplicity is up and down, not down from every angle.
Right. And again, if programmers will, that when they build stuff, like Fortnite or GTA, they make it as easy for them as possible. And whatever they can get, hey, it's Dennis.
Yes.
What I was getting at was they make it easy for people because because programmers are lazy. They're notoriously lazy. And again, not calling God lazy. I'm just saying if the player isn't going to notice subtle things like, oh yeah, by the way, it's not a globe, then that's what you do. You don't. They're not going to notice the old argument which I was throwing. It's like, look, in that game in the distance, you see a mountain. If your character is never going to the other side of that mountain, do you draw the other side of the mountain? No. Why would you? Why would you ever do that? And anyway, it goes from there. Sort of, yeah.
Sort of rambling. Optimize the space that you have for what you intend. And I think largely people don't understand that whatever made the environment had an intent behind it. And what they might reckon is beyond that might have been outside the intent of whoever made it. And so it's pointless to even really speculate about it, because you're speculating on the mind of the creator of that system.
Yeah, which is a whole longer conversation. Yeah,
much longer conversation. So like what we do here is, which we do make exceptions plenty of the time, especially on Sundays. We have speculation Sundays where everyone's kind of allowed to, go whatever way they want to. They can talk about electricity, the ether, the construction of like the dome and all this other stuff if they want to. Typically, like from my point of view, I'm a hardcore Zetetic. That is, I have no model. I am content with thinking that the Earth is all that exists. That is the nature of existence, is the environment of Earth, until I can know more, right? Sure. So I know that's not a common mindset, because most people, I think, visualize in their mind what they're thinking about, instead of removing that and just having the experience of it, and then just doing the formula and the math that goes along with it. Right. And so it is refreshing sometimes to hear a more optimistic view of having like a structure to kind of think about, to look at. And I think for the average person, I think that works really well. It does actually work really well.
For the most part, which is the reason why there's so many more women in flat Earth than there are any other, alternative thinking, is because, and they've all told me the same thing, which is, it's a message of hope. Because if this is a structure and we're not an accident, we aren't some residue from the Big Bang, then it was built for a reason. And they seem to see that as what you said, optimistic. I appreciate a good dystopian, dark, we're just batteries being farmed by a higher thing. But at the same time, I like the other side, which is potentially, it's a learning experience, but either way, it was made for us specifically, and it definitely wasn't an accident. And yes, right now we're the only thing that is, and where we go, what the rest of the mystery unfolds. I'm champing at the bit to find out. So.
Yeah. Well, what are your plans? Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Somebody had a question. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. I was just going to say, do you think most people default to a dome based on how we see the celestial bodies, meaning we see kind of in a spherical way, an azimuthal grid? Do you think that's why people default to dome?
Yeah, 70-30 seem to default to the dome. I mean, again, you type in ancient cosmologies into Google and hit images, you'll see all of them that are out there. All they drew the same freaking thing. Because if you're tracking, again, go back 1,000 years or 500 years or whatever. If you're tracking a group of stars, like, it seems to be going in an arc. Well, they all seem to be going over an arc, and then you work out the patterns for yourself. It's like first thing that comes to mind, of course, is going to be a dome. The only people that I've run it, I can't speak for the group that I'm talking to now, but the only people that seem to go against the dome are the people that don't like to be, and I hate to use like a hippie term, but don't like to be fenced in, man. It's like, why are you being all Captain Bring Down, man? It's like, it should be unlimited everywhere, which is fine. I get it. It's like, there shouldn't be a dome, and it's like, but then you still got to deal with that whole vacuum versus, but the whole gas pressure, a thermodynamics issue. It's like,
see, in that case, I would say they're trying to infer motives for why it was built. Right. So maybe what they want doesn't have anything to do with the intent behind it.
Right.
And so it's just not going to be the way they want it, and that's just the way it is. Right.
Yeah, and it's fine, but most people, tend to, because of the whole pressure issue, tend to kind of go like, all right, well, you got to resolve it one way or the other, so you might as well go with that.
Right. So it's like, even though I say I'm a hardcore Zetetic, I immediately know that whatever it is, or whatever we experience, has to be enclosed, because we have 14.7 psi at ground level, and we have 0.011 psi at 150,000 feet.
Yeah.
So
and again,
it has to be contained.
Yeah, absolutely has to be contained. In fact, I had a discussion with a physicist at a film festival, which really she made me think in a different direction. But I came up with an analogy for it, which is that, because I've literally had physicists say, well, it's such a light pressure difference when you get out there that it doesn't mean much. It's like, it's like 1 psi or less, when you get up, towards the edge of space. And it's like, yeah, but actually that would even work worse against you. It's the box argument. So you take like just a normal cardboard box, you put some packing popcorn in it, and you put one piece of tape on the bottom of that box, and you pick it up. Packing popcorn holds, no problem whatsoever. Fine, put the box back down, put a bunch of books on top of that, heavy books on top of that packing popcorn. Try to pick it up. What happens? The books will just rip through the packing popcorn down. You're saying, what's the point? And my point is that you've got 14 psi, rounding, down here, but one up above that 14. Everything's going to push up. Vacuum doesn't care, doesn't care. It's going to rip everything, and it's still going to rip it instantly. It's not going to be this gradual thing. Don't tell me it's like, oh, it just teases the 1 psi up there at the edge of space. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Because it's going after it. Because it's going after everything. It's going after everything from the 1 down to the 14, and grab the oceans to boot. It's going to rip everything off. Everything that's caught in the atmosphere.
Right. There's also the fallacy of assuming that because a statistic starts at a certain number and it increases or decreases along a pattern, that it is going to infinitely increase or decrease. But what happens when your dollar amount gets to zero? Like let's say you go from $14 and you watch a pattern going down to zero. Is negative zero actually real? It's not.
Ah, there you go. Yeah.
Right. It's not a real, it doesn't, negative doesn't actually exist. And so there's this fallacy that, we're going from 14 to lower, so it must turn into a vacuum eventually, which is completely fallacious thinking. And I've always looked for the Mark Twain quote that specifically references that, because I know he doesn't have anything good to say about statistics, but he also doesn't have anything good to say about statistical models. And he said something specifically about that, about thinking that a number that goes on must go on infinitely.
I don't think I've ever heard that one.
I've been hunting for it. I can't remember what it was. I read it probably 25 years ago. I'm 42 now, so.
I know, that's all right. Look up the last video I made about a song that I didn't figure out for 42 years, and I just figured it out. So you'll get it eventually.
I'm going to figure it out eventually. Did you want? There's a Glober who asks something in chat.
Yeah. Go ahead.
He says, "You think there's a vacuum beyond the dome or something?"
Why? Okay, that's a wonderful argument. Which is, if you have a dome. Thank you, by the way, for mentioning it's like if there is a dome. Why would there have to be anything outside of the dome? Meaning, if space is simulated, if you're living in a giant planetarium, why does there still have to be space at that point? It's one of the oldest arguments, one of the oldest things that drives us nuts, which is it's either a dome sitting in space or a flat pancake asteroid sitting in space. It's like, why does there have to be space? Who told you there was space? If you went to a planetarium and said that's space, you could actually convince some people, but we know better because it's just lights on the ceiling. We were there when they turned the lights off. So no, for me, it's like, no, there doesn't have to be a vacuum outside of the dome, because if you even say there's a dome, that's the whole point. The whole point of the dome being there is that, because if there isn't, the vacuum model, we'll just say the heliocentric model, would fail, absolutely just fail. So there has to be a dome. But once the dome's in place, but that's all you need at that stage. So why would there have to be anything past that? So, right. But it's a good question. Thank you for asking like
that. Chris, do you have any questions? Don't want to put you on the spot. Jedi is one of our OG. He's been around for as long as I have too. I don't know if he's on, if he's listening in.
Yeah. No, I'm here.
All right, here he is.
Hi guys. Hi, Mark. How you doing?
Hey, good.
Yeah, good to see you as well, buddy. No, I haven't got any questions. You kind of answered everything from your kind of standpoint, man. So it was a really fantastic kind of interview. So I'm kind of glad that you came in and shared some of your experiences and what you thought about the flat Earth. Maybe I could ask you, being as you jumped in this Discord server and we're kind of on the front line, as kind of you are, your videos kind of helped many people awaken to the flat Earth a long time ago. So being as you and I have got a shared experience of, say, being in this kind of domain for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, myself, Remus, yourself, and everybody in the server, what do you think's been the more fascinating turning point for you? What type of argument do you use now when you're talking to people about the flat Earth that you didn't have or you didn't talk about, say, 8, 9, 10 years ago? Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Oh, no, yeah, I do. the five science questions that I developed a few years ago before the pandemic, that sort of galvanized me in terms of what I threw at people, which I didn't really throw at people in the clues. You remember when we made the clues were very vague. There was no math in the clues. I didn't talk about long distance photography. I was just connecting the dots on something that I thought was real, and really was kind of hoping that somebody else would jump in, and who knew that there would be so many people that would come up with all sorts of stuff that were way beyond me. My favorite of all time, of course, I'll give you the two. So when somebody asks, it's like, okay, what really turns people, right? What gets people into it almost always in the community is long distance photography, because it's so easy, right? It's easy to understand. You just could take a camera, go out to any body of water, you start shooting, and that's what people did literally since day one. For me, two things, variants of this, which is what convinced me to actually publish the Flat Earth Clues, was the Antarctic Treaty, which, again, most people don't even know exists. However, it's not the best selling point because it still just confuses people, because it leaves people with more questions than anything else, which is fine. The argument, if I try to go against Globers, is the pressure issue. That is by far, because it's easy to understand if you word it right, which is, again, if you're sitting in your room and you turn whatever's above you in your second floor into a small vacuum chamber and you pull the valve on that, what happens, right? It's instant. It's violent. In fact, there's horrible stories out there from deep sea, divers and oil wells issues. Pressure differential is no joke. It's awful. It's not like the movies in any way, shape, or form. It's ruined the end of Aliens for me. But my point there was, and I say, so the air goes upstairs. It goes instantly up from your room upstairs, instantly. I go, so when you go outside, because no globalist has ever come back with me on this one. And I say, when you go outside, why is your atmosphere still here instead of not, being ripped off into space? And people in, the knee-jerk reaction, the only reaction is always, and will always be, that gravity. I go, you mean the same gravity that couldn't keep the air in your room from going upstairs? That gravity. And I actually had a guy stutter, and he almost said, he goes, yeah, but there's more gravity. And I was like, no, it's not this. This is not the same thing. So that for me is my big sticking point, which is no one can answer it. It's like, okay, what keeps our atmosphere here? And what happens at the bleeding edge of space? No one can talk about it. That's my big thing. Beyond the laser test and beyond the other stuff, that's my big thing. 'Cause you can explain it without slides or anything. People kind of get it, but then you do have to show them eventually what a vacuum is. The only reason why, one of the big things reason why that argument didn't go further is because, unfortunately, a vacuum is still invisible. I'm sitting here talking in a giant mixture of nitrogen and a little bit of oxygen, right? But if you took it all away, it'd look the same. I mean, I'd be dead, but it would look the same, and that drives me insane. So it's tough to throw that out there. Sorry, that was a bit of a ramble. Hopefully you saw where I was going with that.
No, that's fine, and I appreciate your answer, because, say, for example, myself and Meme, who have been talking about this like yourself for a very long time now, it is as simple as long-distance observations, how far we can see. The argument kind of in that instance hasn't changed, but maybe the way that we talk about it has. And say, again, for the way that you first brought up NASA, and Antarctica, and then kind of the fourth wall and how NASA kind of lies to you and all of those types of things. That can be easily taken away with understanding how a football works, or a tire works, or gas pressure works.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah,
yep.
the fundamental points haven't changed, but the way that we talk about them and understand them has.
I also like, by the way, the something that came out, I think just before the pandemic, was the that whole black swan argument. The oil rigs, which actually I'm really close to down here in California. The oil rigs offshore. The 6 miles and 10 miles out. But again, the things that we miss that are right in front of us, it's like, oh no, by the way, the horizon's behind them, and it's like. And to where I've had people come back and be globalists, and I don't want to pick on them, they say, oh, no, that's not the real horizon. The real horizon's in front, and it's invisible. And I was going, okay, all right, now you're reaching. Now you're kind of, that's kind of a stretch. But I like that. I love the black swan argument because it's quick and it drives people insane. What I've said earlier, which is, I wish there were more there were more and better troll channels that would just keep hammering on us. But I know everything for a reason. We'll get there. So
we do talk about on this server the Black Swan, say 5 to 10 times a day on a good day.
I bet it's a great argument.
It really, really is. So it's fantastic that we can have that type of shared experience with you, because ultimately, type of different ends of the spectrum when talking about the flat Earth. So you've been in it for a long time, and in the way that you do it, and we speak about these things here too. And it's so for the first time that you've come in and you've spoken to us, it's nice to have that.
Well,
we talk about the same things.
Yeah. Oh no, we're on the same page. I let me close with this. The community I've said since day one, which is I'll steal from your neck of the woods. Again, it's kind of like the Scottish Highlands, which is why I think I put it in the clues, which is we don't agree on a lot of things, like the Scottish Highlands. We'll hack each other to bits. Well, at the end of the day, oh no, if the English are standing there on the other side of the field, we all have a common enemy. So the community is so open to a lot of different things, and in the end, we the only reason we even have conferences and meetups and stuff like this is like no, the globe doesn't work. The globe model absolutely does not hold water. Play on words, literally does not hold water. So, moving forward, that part of the community will keep it going. It will, that might as well be our flag, is a globe with a big line through it, not to steal from Globebusters, but it is kind of true.
Well, Mark.
Well played play on words, Mark.
Thank you.
Well, I do appreciate you. I know you said you were closing out, so I'm going to assume that you had somewhere to get going to. I know you'll have a conference to get into.
We got the meetup right across the street. That's why I'm down here in Los Angeles.
You'll get the meetup. Feel free to Sonny or them. I'll show you. You can make an account here. We'll get you verified feel free to stop in on your own account anytime you want to.
Do me a favor to remind me, because I get a lot of stuff. What?
You got a CR code. Yeah.
Okay. Well, email me the info. My email address is on the is in the body of every video I make, the description box. Just shoot me an email reminder, and I'll do it. I'll absolutely do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, Mark, and have fun with Sonny and Flat Earth Professor.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
guys.
I was pleasantly surprised. I was offline for a little bit, and all of a sudden I thought I heard Mark's voice, and I thought you guys were playing a recording back, and I look and it says Flat Earth Dude icon. So I realized that Mark is with Flat Earth Dude, and hopefully Sonny is there too. And I'm looking forward to joining you guys, and I'm probably taking a couple hours. I'm waiting for my son-in-law to get here. He should be here in about less than an hour. We'll be headed out there.
All right. Thanks, you guys. That was cool, huh?
Thanks for bringing Mark on, man. Kudos to you.
Yeah, I mean, we went to breakfast. I'm like, dude, man, you got to say hi to my peeps, man.
Yeah, hey, you just made the short list. Congratulations.
All right, cool, man. No, I want to promote the server as best we can. I think it's just been absolutely dynamite for the last year. It's really going to a new level, and we just want more people to come by.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I will speak for Indio, CJ, and Jose. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man. I'm going to put a CR code here at the meetup. People can scan it and join Flat Earth 24/7 Discord, and keep it growing.
Awesome.
All right, guys. I'll be back a little bit later. I'll check in. I'll get a few other Flat Earthers to come join us today as well.
All right. Awesome, man.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Man, that was awesome.
Squeaky mic. I've been waiting to move that mic for a while. So that'll make a good clip. That'll make a really good clip for an interview.
Yeah, definitely.
And we'll send the interview to Mark, and he can upload it on his channel.
I wanted to quickly thank him for being here and tell him how his Flat Earth clues were brilliant, and like his other stuff that he does. So you want to change history and stuff like that, but he had to dip.
Oh, compliments to everybody in here. Compliments to absolutely everybody in here for not giving in to the impulse to unmute and shoot him with 1 billion questions.
I'm just going to say that today is going to be a monumental day for me. It was the clues that first opened up my eyes several years ago. I got turned on to that just shortly after the big meetup they had in Pasadena. And I've been bugging Mark by email for a while. Hey, let me know if there's something going on. And several months ago, he let me know about the meetup that's happening over at Renee's today. And that's where I took my P1000. I looked at those oil derricks, watched a little boat cruising around inside of there, and that's what sealed the deal for me. Everything logically seemed correct. But still, that's all hearsay. It's not until I went from actually believing to actually knowing. Mark is the one that opened my eyes. It was at Renee's house that I actually confirmed it. And so that was kind of like the beginning point and the end point of my journey seeking. And it's going to be nice having both of those two guys together at the same place today. I'm looking very much forward to it.
Yeah. And that was a pleasant interview. I know a lot of people have the problems with Mark. I don't. Mark's a good ally.
Was definitely not the time to bring it up, even if there was.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was nice to have that. Thank you very much, Meme, for controlling that. I thought you did really, really well, mate, and holding the fort down and asking relevant questions and leading the directions and letting him speak about, good relevant stuff and opening it up to the floor, and the questions that were asked were good. I'm glad I got to ask mine, mate, so thank you for asking me.
I knew you would have a good question. I've never done an interview before, so I just kind of went with what I thought should be relevant, should be asked, and for informational purposes, and an invitation back. So I think that went generally well. So
yeah.
Mark has to be the most famous. I call him Mr. Flat Earther, not disrespectfully, but he's been on mainstream television stations throughout the world. So in a sense, he's done a fantastic job at representing Flat Earth. And of course, Mark always encourages people to ask their own questions and to sort of follow their own path. Definitely one of the main men in Flat Earth. When people look back, and how you doing, by the way, Chris? When people look back, and let's say the Flat Earth, stationary Flat Earth is revealed, exposed, or whatever, then they'll look back for people who were predominant at the time when there was all this controversy. And of course, Mark will be up there.
Mark, whether anyone likes it or not, Mark is the PR. He is the PR face of Flat Earth, whether anyone likes it or not.
You've got, I think you can put two people up there, Mark Sargent and Eric DeBay. Yeah. It's going to be one of those two people that you're going to...
Mark Sargent.
Yeah.
Eric DeBay is a dark, brooding weirdo.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, of course. But when you're talking about back in the day, those type of
back in the day, yes.
Who you were going to find, it was those two. Wasn't anyone else. And I was on the side of, say, Mark Sargent, hiding God with the biggest lie ever told, Flat Earth Clues, and then Eric DeBay. So it doesn't necessarily matter which order, but say, for example, if Eric had come in here, I think that the server itself, yourself, and everybody else kind of acted in a good, according way for somebody of, say, that caliber, quote unquote, to come in. It was Mark fucking Sargent, for fuck's sake, guys. I mean, that's pretty cool.
So I'm going to be a little self-conscious here. I do need Joe to tell me, did I handle that interview? Because I immediately switched to that mode. Did I handle that interview okay?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I tried to tell you at least on 2 times that I can remember, mate, that you did that very well. You handled the server, you represented the server. You remember what you said yesterday about having to stand back a little bit when certain people came in? Today somebody else came in where maybe you had to come and represent the server and take the lead. So I thought you'd done that very well, and you should be very proud of yourself, mate. Well
I came in just in time. I feel like I came just in time. I was like, all right, I can do my job.
Me too.
I wish I would have caught more of it. I didn't turn the volume up until just the last few minutes of it. I had it on mute because I was doing other stuff.
Feel free to go clip it. I may even go clip it.
Oh, meme. I think it should be clipped, and I think you should.
It should be clipped, and we should post this. We should put this on our Flat Earth Wiki, which I posted in the chat. We'll spread this around much as we can. We'll send it over to Oakley and all them, and get this interview out there. I mean, it's not like a hard hitting Flat Earth interview. It's an interview between one Flat Earther to another Flat Earther about what essentially some journey stuff, some what he's doing that day, what his ideas are, and that's about it. It was an in crowd interview.
it's interesting as well, right? Because he's been around in this right a little bit longer than us, but we've been around a long time, meme. Right, it feels like it now, like since 2015, since his video. So we're in 2023 now. We've been in this journey, kind of together on opposite ends of the spectrum. We've been on that journey together, man. So it was nice to talk about that a little bit as well, what it's like to be flat earthers and what we talk about, now as opposed to back then. That was pretty cool.
I think a lot of us forget too that this isn't our movement. We don't own it. There's no authority. There's no authority. So Mark can be the promoter that he wants to be, just like Nathan Oakley can be the promoter he wants to be, and 24/7 can promote flat Earth in the way that it wants to. So I know we take a much more, or we try to here with our culture, try to take a much more Zetetic stance, a non-conclusion stance.
Sounds like freedom.
Yes.
One flat earth promoter to another. It's interesting, right? That's what we have to kind of take account for. We do represent the flat